anxious as we listen to people who are seeing this, and maybe for the first and only time.
Absolutely, and I love from St. Joseph, Missouri, which is where Brad is, and there's a couple there who are getting married, and I believe they just now tied the knot because they wanted to be sure that they got married before totality, and so that they could take the whole wedding party and go stand outside and then watch it together. Samantha and Justin were their names, and they had planned this, and she said she'd had a fascination with space ever since she was a kid and did a project on Jupiter, and she wanted to do this, and so they went there and they tied the knot, and she said, we're going to play music beforehand. It's going to be like space-themed music. So I'm assuming like Star Wars and, Total Eclipse of the Heart, that kind of thing. But they played it, in a beautiful wedding, and then they all wanted to go out and have the wedding party, watch the eclipse together. So, you've got that, you've got your party favors, you got the reception taken care of pretty much. With the, how are you going to top that, Not going out and having a DJ on the dance floor, not going to do it.
I hear you want to get married, not in total darkness. Just a piece of advice. But ABC's Sherry Preston with how to plan a wedding in a total solar eclipse. She's got it down, waiting for 2024. Our journey across the country with this 70-mile wide shadow that's being caused as the moon passes in front of the sun and in between the sun and the earth continues. It has taken us from Oregon and Idaho, Wyoming, and Nebraska, and on the way to Missouri. ABC's Brad Milkey is there with us. Brad, you're nearing the moment here.
Well, that's right. And it really is, a special time. You get about an hour and a half, 2 hours to really celebrate the moon obscuring the sun. But people who are here, people who have made the trip, will say there is a big, big difference between 98% of the sun covered and 100% of the sun covered. Now, of course, these people are partial. They all made the trip. But they have been jonesing for this for several days. A lot of them they factored this into their road trips. They took road trips just because of this. We even talked to some Australians who came here from around the world. Their first time doing astronomy. They're amateur astronomers. Their first time doing astronomy outside of their country. And the reason they said they came here is because Americans should feel so lucky. This is such a great spot to be with such a great line of sight.
ABC's Brad Milkey. This is live coverage from ABC News. I'm Aaron Katersky. The Great American Eclipse marches on. It has already hit in Oregon and Idaho, and Nebraska, and Wyoming, on its way to ABC's Brad Milkey in St. Joseph, Missouri, in the path of totality. 14 states are in this path. But if you're an astronomer, or better yet, an astronaut, like Bill MacArthur was for NASA before he recently retired, he got to see this from the International Space Station. Bill, I'm still marveling at such a unique view that very, very few Americans or very, very few people have actually seen.
Well, it certainly was an extraordinary opportunity, and I felt really blessed and grateful that I had the opportunity to do that. It was a wonderful experience. Living in space is beyond awesome.
And it seems like today, Americans on the ground feel like they're at least living a little chunk of that.
Well, I think so. This is, a big celestial event, and you all, I think, have done a wonderful job of really describing how unique the event today is, and I'm really looking forward to the next one, which is in 7 years, when it'll be a whole lot closer to Houston. So we might get a chance to see totality at that time. But I think it just awakens this awe that people tend to naturally have in the grandeur of nature, and it helps, I think, people understand why so many folks have a passion for understanding the universe in which we live.
When you got to see the eclipse from your vantage point at the International Space Station, did it tell you anything, or were you able to understand something that you hadn't understood before?
Gosh, I'm an engineer and a test pilot by trade, and so this the analytical mind is an interesting thing, and so it isn't that I saw things that I didn't know, but you then begin to understand the thing. There's a difference between knowing and understanding, and knowing can very often be the result of academic endeavors, but understanding is very often the result of our actual experiences, and that's one of the things I took away from the trips I was able to enjoy going into space, and that is the laws of physics really are laws. They really do work.
Bill MacArthur is a retired NASA astronaut speaking to us from Houston on the day of the Great American Eclipse he saw in 2006 from the International Space Station. What a vantage point that is. The rest of us are stuck on the ground with our little glasses to gaze up at the sky, and there are millions of Americans doing just that at this moment. It has already passed in the Pacific Northwest, making its way on a southeasterly track across the United States, a 3,000-mile journey at 1,800 miles per hour. It's racing. I'm Aaron Katersky. You're listening to live coverage from ABC News. I think we all became Bonnie Tyler fans. Maybe not all of us, but ABC's Sherry Preston has been dancing to this in her head since the day began.
You say I have. Oh, there she is. The best karaoke song. Okay, here we go. Nothing I can say. Total eclipse of the heart. Thank you. Thank you. Here we go. Number 1 on iTunes, ladies and gentlemen. Number 1, Bonnie Tyler.
She was aboard a cruise ship singing this for untold numbers of fans. And who would have thought that in 2017, Bonnie Tyler would stay relevant enough in our scientific exploration of the Great American Eclipse.
And she was on Good Morning America today. Looked phenomenal. She's on there on the cruise ship waiting. She sang the song. She looked great. And, she probably had this in her mind when she put that song out. She's like, you know what? In August of 2017, they're going to be coming to me. They're going to be begging me to sing this song again. And sure enough, here she was in Good Morning America.
Seth Fletcher from Scientific American, also a large Bonnie Tyler fan in his own right. Of course. In popular culture, the eclipse there is something mysterious about it that we don't fully understand, but we knew this one was coming, and to be able to even predict that seems astounding.
It is, and yet, we've mapped out the eclipses for the next, we ran a graphic depicting, 1,000 years of eclipses in Scientific American. I mean, it's very basic Newtonian physics, these based on equations that go back, 300 years. So yeah, these are things that we know. There are lots of mysteries, but mechanics of the planets and the moons, we know.
And so much more yet to learn and discover, and we're glad Seth is here from Scientific American as we follow the 70-mile wide shadow on its march across the United States. ABC's Brad Milkey from St. Joseph, Missouri, nearing the time, Brad, if those clouds part for you.
We're just a few minutes away from totality right now, and just as I was giving up hope, Aaron, the sun just barely peeked out from behind the clouds, and I'm with some people from, where are you guys from?
Iowa.
How old are you?
I'm 9.
What's your name?
My name's Helen Hutchison.
Helen, you're an expert. We've been talking. What would we be seeing right now if that cloud would just get out of the way?
Well, we'd be seeing the sun, and the moon would just be reaching over, trying to cover the sun.
And Aaron, if you look up, you can actually see just a sliver of the sun left. That is what is keeping the sky alight right now. And that's going to get much, much darker in just the next couple of minutes.
Brad, you're there with a 9-year-old expert and countless others in the middle of this airport field. How many people are there?
We got 15,000, 20,000 tickets were sold, Aaron, and some people were already trying to take off mid-morning to try to get out of here. They're looking for a patch of sunny spot. Other people are sticking around here. Are you guys having fun, by the way? I mean, is this any fun?
Yeah.
Why?
Because we can spend time with each other and play around. Yeah.
a very poetic group that we're hanging out with here, Aaron. And you actually heard a little bit of a whoop come out from the crowd, and in scattered pockets, here you go. You start seeing all these kids are putting on their glasses right now, and you can just make out the sun right now. We're all putting our glasses on. You can hear the excitement right there. And right now, Aaron, you can see that fabulous forming around the sun, a beam of light shooting out, and everyone is trying to figure out, where do I put my glasses? Can I take them off? Because this is a big deal right now. Helen, what are you seeing?
Well, there's just a little sliver of the orange, and it's just getting smaller by the second.
Getting smaller by the second, Aaron, and we have a miraculous sort of fold poking through the clouds. The rest of the sky is absolutely gray, except for right overhead right now, when we were told 38 years ago that this moment would happen, and people, some of them started planning their trips back then.
ABC's Brad Mielke and his friends in St. Joseph, Missouri, where they finally have been able to see a piece of this as the clouds part and everybody puts on their special solar eclipse glasses. They look like welder glasses on the old 3D things you used to get in the movies, and they're sold out across the country, including in Charleston, South Carolina. Our good friend Jim Hickey is at a block party just outside Charleston. Get ready, Jim. It's coming to you.
Okay, Aaron, I'm ready. We've got about 24 families here at this block party, as you can probably hear them in the background. And I have to tell you, we've been battling cloud cover here in Charleston for the past couple of hours, but we seem to be winning. And we also have a double treat here, Aaron. I'm looking up at the sun, at the eclipse through my special glasses, and I can see now that we're almost halfway across the sun, or that is, the moon is halfway across the sun. But it is also behind a thick layer, let me take that back, a thin layer of clouds that are full of moisture. So the double treat we're getting here, Aaron, is that around the sun is a faint rainbow as well. So it's a double treat, and people here are enjoying this picnic. You can hear they brought all kinds of food. Kids are riding their tricycles around and playing games and just having a wonderful time with this event here, and they are occasionally picking up their glasses and looking up at the sun. And I was talking to my neighbor Jerry, who was talking to her sister, did you say, Jerry, in Portland, Oregon? And what did she say?
She said it is truly an amazing sight. She is so grateful to be blessed to have seen the sight. And she said, look at the water, because the reflections in the water, the colors are spectacular.
We will do that. We'll look at the water. We're having a great time, Aaron. Wish you were here.
Sounds just like it, Jim. Thanks. ABC News correspondent emeritus Jim Hickey. We'll check back in with Jim just outside Charleston, South Carolina. And such good reminders. It isn't just the sun and the moon, but the water, the rainbow. So many natural marvels to behold on this day of the great American eclipse, now racing across the country, right in the middle of the country. And we're about to check in again with Brad Mielke in St. Joseph, Missouri, as he experiences totality for the first time. Stay with us as our coverage continues.
This is live coverage from ABC News, the Great American Eclipse. From ABC News headquarters, here is correspondent Aaron Katersky.
The Great American Eclipse is on the march, smack in the middle of the country now. The 70-mile wide shadow in St. Joseph, Missouri. ABC's Brad Mielke, and a crowd behind him there. Brad.
Aaron, as you opened the show, that is the exact moment that the moon fully encompassed the sun. The sky, which has been gray, light gray, has now plunged into black. And all around us, as you turn around on this flat Missouri landscape, you can see a sunset all the way around you. This is the moment that people here have been talking about for weeks, if not months. And I'm here with the crowd. You guys describe what you just saw.
It's amazing. It's just like, it's just
That is the sound that is coming out of a lot of people right now, Aaron. You hear a roar encompassing the Rosecrans Memorial Airport airfield as 15,000 people are stopping whatever they've been doing, and they are shouting at the sky. And right now, you see full totality, Aaron. You can see this black disc hovering over the sun. And these guys are loving it. Listen.
ABC's Brad Milkey, either at a total eclipse or a Justin Bieber concert, as he experiences the excitement of so many around him in St. Joseph, Missouri. We'll get back to Brad in just 1 second. Seth Fletcher's here from Scientific American. Aside from the giddiness and the voices of those around Brad, which is terrific, help us understand, what are we seeing during this new moon phase that everybody is witnessing today?
It's sort of a miracle that the moon just happens to be the right size to totally block the sun, but that it is as simple as that. The moon is blocking out the sun. It's coming between us and the sun. It's and it is astonishing. If the moon was a lot smaller, we would not see this effect to nearly this degree. It's amazing. Yeah, I was just sort of listening to those girls scream and freak out. I was just sitting here smiling, thinking about how excited I am for them that it cleared up.
Right.
Just because 20 minutes ago it was not sounding so good in St. Joseph.
No, not so good with all the cloud cover. And usually we don't get to see this at all because it hits unpopulated areas. Right.
Yeah. Most of the time when this happens, it happens over the ocean because that's most of what the surface of the Earth is. Yeah, it's a very cool and unusual alignment of factors that we're experiencing today.
Seth Fletcher from Scientific American here with us also is ABC's Sherry Preston.
And listening, you're right, listening to those girls, it makes you realize that when it happens and it gets blocked out like this, I think that a lot of us were not expecting it to be this big. I mean, we knew it was going to be big, but we didn't know how cool it was going to be once it became pitch black. And then when you're hearing it and seeing it, because the last time it wasn't here, and I kept hearing about these people who travel the world. I've seen it in Africa, I've seen it in India, I've gone here and there to see it, and I'm like, what's the big deal? I mean, you could go anywhere, but these people have it in their head why they want to do it, and hearing the excitement on the radio of these people as this happens all across the country, it's really infectious.
It is infectious. So let's get back to St. Joseph, Missouri, with ABC's Brad Milkey and his pals at the airport field, where he is with some 20,000 others. Brad?
Well, that's right, Aaron. And you talk about pinholes, and we've been talking about how to see this eclipse if you're looking at it partially. And what we just got was a pinhole in the cloud cover. The entire landscape right now is covered by dark, looming gray clouds. And yet, just at that moment, directly overhead, we got a small glimpse of the sun. And all at once, you could see that thing that everyone talks about, the black disc over the sun, the corona waving its tentacles away from the sun. And now, from where it was dark and a creepy sort of orange hovering over the horizon, now, all of a sudden on this cloudy, rainy day, it seems downright light. I mean, you wouldn't have said that a few minutes ago, but that's certainly how it appears right now in comparison with that blackness that we just experienced for a full 2 minutes and 38 seconds.
I don't want to be in a car with those girls driving home, because they're not going to stop screaming for hours. Their parents are going to be like, okay, girls, we saw an eclipse.
ABC's Brad Milkey and his girls in St. Joseph, Missouri. ABC's Sherry Preston is here, and Connor Sloan, Sherry, is on the line with us from Goreville, Illinois. Who's Connor Sloan to you?
Connor Sloan is my nephew and my godson, and he and my brother-in-law, Michael Sloan, are camping down in southern Illinois. Connor, you've sent me a couple of pictures. It looks like it's starting to happen there.
Yeah, we're pretty close now. There's just a small sliver of the sun left. Looks pretty cool. It's starting to get dark now, so it's kind of eerie. And it's cooled off about 15 degrees here, which is really nice.
Okay, we have to tell you, you have to up the excitement level a little bit if you want to match those girls in St. Joseph, Missouri, because they got it going on. You guys are like, yep, sun, moon, gonna see it.
Yeah, we're pretty excited for it. There's a bunch of people here. Everyone's really excited.
You're south of Carbondale, right?
Yeah, we're pretty close to Carbondale.
Okay, in Carbondale, Illinois, and around that area is where they're going to see the most totality. They can figure that out as well, can't they, Seth? Because they can figure out who gets the most sunlight and the most, the most totality just by doing that, right?
That's right. Yeah, it's the math would be too difficult for me to do by hand, obviously. But you plug these very well established equations into computers, and it's pretty straightforward.
And that sends people like Connor into Goreville, Illinois. Connor, who's around you? How long have you been there? You camp out? What's the mood?
Well, we stayed in St. Louis last night, and we drove here. We left at about 7 o'clock, and it took us about 2.5 hours to get here. It's me and two of my uncles. And there's a bunch of people here. We're all really excited about it. People are camping out, brought lunch food, and chairs. Just about everybody's got a camera and glasses, and we're all really excited for it.
Connor, we're so pleased that you could take time to speak with us.
Thanks, Connor, and tell Michael, and is it Tony there with you, or is it Rob?
It's Rob.
It's Rob, okay. And to your Uncle Rob, tell him hi from Aunt Sherry, and you guys appreciate it and enjoy totality.
Thanks, dear, I will.
Okay, bye-bye, love ya.
It's coming to Goreville, Illinois, on the march to Illinois, Kentucky, Tennessee. It is just past St. Joseph, Missouri, where ABC's Brad Milkey is. Brad?
Hey, Aaron, I'm here with Adam right now. At last, a grown-up voice in the room. Adam, you're the parent of somebody who's rascals who's cheering. What was that like for you as an adult who's seeing this? Was this your first eclipse?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. No, I've never seen anything like this. And watching my kids, obviously, they were pretty excited. So I was just excited for them that they were able to see this.
Well, and tell me about the atmosphere of the day. It's been dark, it's been gray, and then you saw that. Did it live up to the hype?
Oh, absolutely. So the last half hour, so we were just very disappointed. We didn't think we'd be able to see anything, and then all of a sudden the clouds just opened up at the perfect time. So it was amazing. It was great.
They talk so much, Aaron, about the serendipity of this entire event. Just the fact that the moon happens to be the perfect size to block out the sun. And then the serendipity of this for these people in Missouri that were thinking, this might have been a waste of a trip, all of a sudden got treated to just about 2 minutes of an incredible spectacle that everyone here has been telling us throughout the week. If you see this, you won't forget it. And I can guarantee you, no one I'm with right now is going to forget this for the rest of their life.
Yeah, sure sounds like it, Brad. And you've got, you said 20,000 people out there with you?
Yeah, that's right. And the reason is because of just how easy it was to get here. The fact that it wasn't just in that path that the sun is sweeping across with its shadow right now, but it's right in the middle of that path. There's a big difference between being in Kansas City right now, where you get 30 seconds of totality, versus being here in St. Joe, where you get 2 minutes and 40 seconds. And that's what we're seeing in places like Carbondale, Illinois. It's even a little bit more than that. Eclipse chasers have been seeking these places out. I talked to a family that specifically looked at this place. They looked from everything from hotel accommodation to traffic. They wanted to call the Chamber of Commerce to ask them, do you guys really have your act together? Do people that take this seriously, Aaron, know just how many things go into making an event like this happen, and they're very happy here.
ABC's Brad Milkey from St. Joseph, Missouri. More than 2 minutes of totality, and they were able to experience it after the clouds lifted and people were positively giddy with excitement. I'm Aaron Katersky. You're listening to live coverage from ABC News. The eclipse has already passed by in Oregon. It was the first point of entry, I suppose, for this shadow cast by the moon as it throws shade all across the United States, and in particular 14 states in the path of totality. Let's go back to Oregon now, where it all started, and ABC's Alex Stone. Alex.
And we're not done yet, Aaron. Looking up at the sky, still have my dorky, clunky eclipse glasses on, that it still looks like somebody has taken an ice cream scoop and taken out a side of the sun here. That the moon has not completely passed, so still there are some folks who are here. They are trying to get the last glimpse. They've got their glasses on. They're watching as well. I caught up with this couple from Boston and asked them, all right, totality, how was it?
Really cool.
Really cool? Yeah, it was pretty neat. For folks who can't see it, what did it look like?
We got kind of lucky, actually, because it was misty out, so you could barely see anything, and then all of a sudden it was covered up, and all you can see is this halo around. I'm assuming it's just like the light bending around the moon. It was pretty neat. Just this total halo around the moon of just all the light coming around it.
And it got dark.
It got very dark very fast.
And cold.
Yeah, I'm cold and my neck is killing me, but it was pretty cool.
Through all that looking up.
Yeah.
You came from Boston. Was it worth it?
Yeah, I would say so. It was definitely, I mean, I don't know when the next one is, but it's not anytime soon, so I'd say it was definitely worth it.
2024. You don't have that much time to wait.
No. Maybe we'll go to that one too.
So they came all the way here from Boston. They said specifically for this that they didn't want to miss it, and now they are hooked on it, as are many of the folks who were out here from that incredible moment, seeing that glow around the moon when it was in totality. Two things real quickly. The woman in front of me who's been selling T-shirts and sweatshirts and everything, she only has 3 left. But Aaron, unfortunately, it's triple XL is all she has left, so I can't pick that up for you. But she has sold 260 pieces of shirts and sweatshirts, and she pointed out something that I didn't notice because I was looking up at the sky, how quickly the tide went out and came back in. One of your experts can probably answer why that happened, but very, very quickly the tide disappeared and it came right back in. It is now hot out. By the way, like Brad, it was a cloudy, gloomy morning here all the way up to totality, and then in totality the clouds parted, and now it is a beautiful day, and we got to see it here. Just in that moment, all of a sudden, it became visible.
Simply stunning, Alex. Someone was looking out for you.
Yeah, it was incredible, and hearing Brad say the same thing happened there, that this crowd got somewhat depressed because we had clear skies at a point this morning, right as the partial portion of the eclipse began, and then thick fog came in, and everyone went, you know, man, we traveled here, and now look what we've got. They're not going to see anything with the glasses on. You couldn't see anything through the clouds. And then right in those final moments, it quickly got dark. The clouds and the fog separated, and then it became a sunny, beautiful day. It is gorgeous here right now, looking out over the Pacific Ocean.
ABC's Alex Stone with us from Oregon, and the woman who's almost sold out of T-shirts, save for the triple XL. The Great American Eclipse turns into a great capitalist moment in the United States of America as people want to take a little something home after their long drive to get to where they needed to be to see it, and the clouds parted. And right behind us, you can hear some of the noise from what they're calling the capital of the eclipse in Carbondale, Illinois, the longest total duration point. About 2 minutes, 40 seconds or so as near totality approaches. Let's listen. Listening to live coverage of the Great American Eclipse. I'm Aaron Katersky. The crowd in Carbondale, Illinois, dubbed itself the capital of the eclipse because it's just miles from the longest total duration point. Totality is there. Sherry, they've gathered in a football stadium in order to watch this.
In a football stadium that I've been to many times as a graduate of Southern Illinois University in Carbondale, the radio TV department there, they have been planning for this for years. They sold out one of the dorms there. They sold it out like months ago, and these little houses there had been going for, you know, $1,000 a night on Airbnb. And the reason they call this the center is because this will also be where the eclipse hits in April of 2024. The next eclipse will also, it's like an X, and Carbondale is right in the middle. So they say that they are ground zero for the eclipse and for totality in Little Carbondale, Illinois.
And it's dark in Carbondale, Illinois. Just a few shadows now as the crowd in this football stadium all gazes up. Their necks may be sore, but it's going to be worth it. People were able to take off their glasses for just a bit, and then they'll have to put them right back on as this passes in less than 2 minutes. After Illinois, it'll head off toward Nashville, Tennessee. That is the most populated city that will witness totality from this total eclipse. ABC's Stephen Hubbard is there for us in Nashville. Stephen.
It is a parking lot party just off Music Row right now here in Nashville. I would say we are just almost at totality. You can see the tiniest sliver of the sun still remaining on the left side. This morning, we were talking about how hot it was here. It was about 93 several hours ago. In the past half hour, it has dropped at least, I would say, 20 degrees. It's much, much cooler. We're out in lawn chairs on the asphalt. I noticed the tour bus driver has pulled over, and he's checking out the eclipse all around on these, on the roofs of these, 5-story buildings. You know, everybody's emptied out and is on the roof right now. There are probably 10 of us who've been sitting out here for, I'd say, I don't know, half an hour, maybe an hour, and then in the last 10 or 15 minutes, the ladies from next door rolled their office chairs out. So pretty much everybody in Nashville is outside right now. I can't imagine what it looks like on Lower Broadway. We were hearing earlier that tables on the rooftops were going anywhere from $125 a piece up to like $500. So it's a big day in Nashville for sure.
Sounds it, Stephen. ABC Stephen Hubbard, near totality, just about 4 minutes to go. Totality has just ended in Carbondale, Illinois, and you can hear the crowd at the football stadium at Southern Illinois University, where they've just put their glasses back on, and daylight has broken once again, Sherry.
They took them off for a minute, and there was enough cloud cover there that you could actually see it happen, just briefly, and then the cloud cover went away, and you need to put those glasses on. I'm sure people will probably go, oh, my eyes hurt now because I looked up and I wasn't supposed to, but that was really cool. It very quickly in Carbondale there, it happened.
Seth Fletcher's here, too, from Scientific American, and just the image that we've seen from Carbondale was crystal clear.
Yeah, that was amazing. I didn't expect to see something that clear come up on the screen. The atmosphere there seems incredible.
There were a lot of people who were saying that they didn't want to experience it in the football stadium with all those people. They were going to have a NASA astronaut there telling them what it was and how to experience it, because really the real totality is just south of Carbondale and west in a little town called Maconda, which is outside Giant City State Park in Carbondale, and it's a nothing town. You pass through it and there's like one general store. We would go there on weekends, in between rappelling when I used to do activities outside, and that's where it is. It's kind of close to where my nephew was as well.
ABC's Sherry Preston here with us as totality moves from near Carbondale, Illinois toward Kentucky on its way toward North Carolina. Zachary Newman is in Asheville for us. Zach, it's the first day of classes. What's everybody doing?
Well, they canceled all the classes, actually, as soon as they realized it was Eclipse Day. So everyone right now is on the quad, staring at it around 15 minutes before totality. It looks a lot like a little moon.
Zach, how many people are around you outside?
I'd say well over about 200.
200 people just kind of all craning up at the sky, everybody's neck a little sore?
Exactly, yeah. There's a lot of festivities. There's sun chips and moon pies out for free for everyone to eat. People are playing cornhole, listening to the DJ, watching the eclipse.
And that's the first food reference we have heard, the appropriate snack reference for this eclipse coverage. And that's important because moon pie was duking it out with sun chips and other branded items. So, Zach, you finally hit on the snack options for us.
Yeah, so I got to tell you, I'm on Team Moon Pie.
Zachary Newman in Asheville, North Carolina, where classes are canceled and everybody's come out on the quad to just look up there at where Zachary is. Anybody missing class today, or is this pretty much a good enough science project?
I gotta say, this has got to be pretty much a good enough science project. Some of the science teams has brought out looking telescopes pointed at the sky.
Zachary Newman there in Asheville, North Carolina for us. Hey, Zach, enjoy yourself there. You and your 200 closest pals out on the quad with their sun chips and moon pie. It's good to hear your voice, pal, and we will check in with you again as totality nears. Right now, right around Nashville, Tennessee, so we want to check back in with ABC's Stephen Hubbard. We'll get to him in just a second. And I want to bring back one more time Bill MacArthur, a retired NASA astronaut. Just as you listen to some of this hype, you've been in 3 shuttle missions. You've seen this from the International Space Station. Is there any of the same giddiness, or is this all old hat for you now?
Oh, gosh, it's never old. I don't think it's ever old hat. And in part, it's because even though I had the opportunity to fly on 4 different missions, there were years between each of them, and so it never lost its fresh flavor. But I think what you're hearing, you mentioned a little. I think you used the word hype a little bit, and I think that's a good word to use because you get an opportunity to challenge the idea that that there isn't a lot of substance to what we're hearing, and I think the awe and wonder that we're hearing from the people who are you're interviewing on the program, I think it is real. It is genuine. This is a marvelous thing. I've been sneaking out every once in a while, hoping I didn't get called on, so I could go and see what it looked like here from Houston. And it is awe-inspiring in every sense of the word.
You mentioned that, and we often don't collectively as a nation stop to pause and marvel at the natural wonders around us.
Well, and I think it's because so much of the wonderful things around us, because we see them day in and day out, we begin to take them for granted, and that's just normal human behavior. But as you all have so pointed out so well, this is not a routine event. This is something really, really special, and gosh, even though most of the people in the country won't see totality, if the weather permits it, this eclipse is visible across the entire United States, and that's pretty spectacular.
It sure is. 14 states in the path of totality, as Bill MacArthur, retired NASA astronaut, so rightly points out, and we've already heard from so many people in the path, this 3,000-mile path that began in Oregon, marched across Idaho and Wyoming and Nebraska, been through Missouri and Illinois, and now in Nashville, Tennessee, on its way to its exit point from the country in or near Charleston, South Carolina, and all along the way, millions of Americans have made the drive to an outdoor location just to experience this celestial wonder. It has not happened like this in 99 years and won't happen again till 2045 for a total eclipse, and it's wonderful. I think that so many Americans get out, so many people from around the world have come to just check it out for themselves and bear witness. I'm Aaron Katersky, and this is live coverage from ABC News. ABC's Jim Hickey, our good friend, is in a block party right outside Charleston, South Carolina. Jim, it sounds like people are just having a good time no matter what the weather where you are.
The people here are having a wonderful time, Aaron. They are associating with each other. This is a relatively new neighborhood, so all these neighbors are getting to know each other. There are lots of children here, all riding their bicycles, stopping from time to time to look up at the eclipse. Their parents being very careful that they use the special glasses. And I'll tell you, Aaron, I'm looking up at the eclipse right now, and it is about 3/4 covering the sun. The sun sort of reminds me at this point of the Cheshire Cat in the story of Alice in Wonderland. And I think this is just a wonderful time here. We are about a half an hour away from totality in the Charleston area, the very last place in the continental United States where this eclipse will appear. And I'm standing next to my good friend and my new neighbor, Jason, who's here with his 2 daughters. Jason, what do they think about it? What are you thinking? What do they think about all this?
Thanks, Jim. It's amazing. We can feel the temperature drop. And I was just talking to my older daughter, Claire, who's 8, my younger daughter, Jane, who's 6, that it feels like the evening. I think the temperature's dropped about 10 degrees. It's getting a little bit darker as we're approaching totality. And for Claire, of course, it's her first eclipse of any kind. And to be fortunate enough to live in totality in Charleston is just something she'll never forget. Claire, would you like to talk about what you're seeing?
Claire, I see you have your sun catcher special glasses on. What do you think about all this? It's fun, isn't it? Isn't it fun? Cool.
It's kind of crescent shaped. like the sun.
Like the sun looks like the moon right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, the sun looks like the moon. So it's something that we'll never forget.
And Aaron, I think she had the best description of all. It's cool. Aaron?
No question, it is cool. ABC's Jim Hickey from Charleston, South Carolina. South Carolina is the last state that is going to experience totality. And Tracy Pajak has ventured to Columbia, South Carolina, and she's on the line with us now. Tracy, first of all, where are you and where'd you come from?
I came from Charlotte, North Carolina, about 80 miles north of Columbia today, and I am along a riverbank with the gorgeous dams. Columbia, South Carolina is where two major rivers meet up. So I'm at the section where the two major rivers meet up. It's very picturesque. There's about 150 of us outside, and we're tailgating as if we were going to a USD football game.
Oh, right on. And about the same atmosphere, I'd imagine.
Absolutely the same atmosphere. People are out here grilling, they're cooking food, they're having cocktails. Kids are running around, they have their dogs out. It's a very festive, like a football-style atmosphere.
And Tracy, is there a signature Eclipse dish that you're grilling? We know moon pie is vying to be the official food of this thing. Anything on the menu that we should know about?
Not about to eat, but to drink. We've got a bottle of Dom Perignon, and when it gets very dark here and we start to see the stars, we're going to pop the cork, and we're having a bottle of Dom Perignon.
Oh, make sure you do that near your phone so we can capture and save a glass for me. Tracy, don't go away. Tracy Pajak from Charlotte, North Carolina, went to Columbia, South Carolina, along the riverbank in order to experience this eclipse, tailgating with about 150 other people. As she says, just like she'd be going to a college football game, it's that exciting for people all around the country, and certainly for those in South Carolina, the very last, but certainly not least state, to catch a glimpse of totality just a few minutes from now as the eclipse exits the continental United States. Stay with us for our coverage, ABC News.
This is live coverage from ABC News, the Great American Eclipse. From ABC News headquarters, here is correspondent Aaron Katersky.
Last but not least, South Carolina, the final state to sit in the path of this total eclipse. Tracy Pajak has come from Charleston, North Carolina to Columbia, South Carolina, along the riverbank in order to experience this celestial wonder with, what, Tracy, you were telling me, about 150 of your closest friends?
Yes, about 150 people, and actually, as for the past few minutes, it's starting to get much darker here all of a sudden. It's just that the sun is setting, it's very twilight.
I wondered, you mentioned that you had kids and dogs running around. Are the animals doing anything differently? Because we had heard that they may behave a little differently in an eclipse.
Some of them are sitting down as if it's like quieting down for the evening. They're no longer running around. They're just sitting down in their spot.
And everybody else, what are they doing? The humans.
Everyone else is looking up to the sky because it's getting slightly darker here, and everyone has their glasses on and they're watching. If you look at the sun, it's becoming more covered by the moon.
I wanted to ask if you had your official glasses.
I have my official glasses, Rainbow brand.
So, all right, well, you're making sure to be safe while you're chatting with us here as you experience this the totality just a few moments from now. And as the sky darkens, I wondered if you just share some of your thoughts being out there on the riverbank in the middle of the afternoon in South Carolina, and it's getting dark.
It is. This is like a once-in-a-lifetime experience. A lot of people weren't around in 1979, the last time this happened. And when this happens again in 2024, South Carolina actually will not be in the path. So for people that live within South Carolina or a vicinity of a couple hundred miles away, this is a really big event because they won't be here many years later from now when this happens again.
Really just an incredible spectacle, and we appreciated Tracy spending a few minutes with us. Tracy Pajak from North Carolina traveled to Columbia, South Carolina in order to experience this near totality coming up a few moments from now. Zachary Newman's in Asheville, North Carolina. Zachary, look up. What do you see?
Well, honestly, we're combating some storm clouds right now, eclipsing as we speak, and you can probably hear the crowd around me cheering it on.
You're at school today, and they canceled class, right?
Yes, they did.
I mean, this has got to be for people who are just out on the quad something special, regardless of the weather.
Absolutely, everyone's ecstatic. It feels a lot like a 4th of July kind of celebration as we all look at the sky, and you can see right now just a smidge of the sun being covered by the moon, and also some clouds, but mostly the moon.
What are people doing? Is it just kind of stand there and gawk, or is there anything else going on?
There's a lot of lawn chairs, there's some hammocks, but mostly a lot of standing up and looking up, a lot of lying down too.
Zachary Newman is with us from Asheville, North Carolina, where he and his pals at school are out on the quad because they've canceled classes for the day as people gaze upward. Some clouds, but you're still getting a sense there's an eclipse, Zach.
Exactly. It's very, very dark, like nighttime.
All of a sudden, it's nighttime in the middle of the afternoon. I mean, is it weird?
Yeah, it's honestly, a little disconcerting, but that's that. It's honestly spectacular.
Spectacular, disconcerting, the words from Zachary Newman in Asheville, North Carolina. Enjoy yourself, Zach, for this potentially once-in-a-lifetime event, this total eclipse that has been experienced by the United States of America and 14 states in particular who are in the path of totality. Tracy Pajak is still with us from Columbia, South Carolina, just a moment now from near darkness and totality. What's it like, Tracy?
It's actually gotten much, much darker now. It looks like it's twilight. The sun has already gone down, it feels, and it's very eerie feeling. I actually hear the crickets that usually come around twilight. All of a sudden, I'm near woods, and the crickets are chirping because it's getting very, very dark here. It's actually kind of eerie, but cool.
Everyone says that, a little eerie, but also kind of spectacular. And the crickets are out, so you know.
The crickets are out, yes. It's weird. They're getting louder.
Tracy, you've got about 3 minutes until totality passes you by. What's everyone around you doing?
Everyone is looking up at the sky. We've got a couple clouds, but they're still looking up. They're listening to the crickets. The crowd is cheering. This is actually a really cool moment in life.
We're going to let you enjoy it, Tracy, but we appreciate you sharing it with us. Tracy Pajak from Charlotte, North Carolina, on the riverbank in Columbia, South Carolina, gazing up at this celestial event experienced by the United States like hasn't experienced it in 99 years. ABC's Jim Hickey is outside Charleston, South Carolina. It's getting dark, Jim?
It is beginning to get dark, Aaron. It's kind of weird, I got to tell you that. It is like late in the afternoon. It's kind of a dull gray right now, not quite black. And as I look up at the eclipse, it's getting very, very close. I see just a sliver of the sun now as the moon continues to encroach on the sun or encroach past the sun. We did hear some thunder a short while ago, which gave people pause here. And as I look to the west and north, I do see thunder clouds, but I think we're going to reach totality before the rains reach us. So that's good news, Aaron. And people are now I'm looking across this cul-de-sac where I'm gathered with my neighbors, and they're all looking up at the sun now. They know totality is just moments away, Aaron.
ABC's Jim Hickey outside Charleston, South Carolina. We've just seen an image of President and Mrs. Trump who have come onto the balcony at the White House in order to bear witness to this moment. The president did not have on special eclipse glasses, but maybe a White House staffer will pass them on so that he can experience what Washington, D.C. sees. Not a total eclipse, but at least a partial eclipse as the president and Mrs. Trump join in the excitement of so many millions of Americans who are out watching today. ABC's Sherry Preston and Seth Fletcher from Scientific American have left me here in the studio. They've gone outside to see what they can see here in New York City. Sherry, how is it?
Well, Aaron, I'll tell you, with a lot of cynical New Yorkers here, no, I don't care. But when the clouds moved aside, as they did just a few minutes ago, we were passing the eclipse glasses around, and you could see it, and it was pretty cool, right, Seth?
It was very cool. Unfortunately, it's behind a cloud right now, but for a moment there, it was very impressive.
Yeah, as we come here and people are gathering here, we're at the corner of 66th and Broadway, so right in the middle of the Upper West Side, as you can hear, and there's a big, giant gray cloud, so it's not as stunning as you would think, but it is pretty cool here in New York City.
All right, ABC's Sherry Preston outside with Seth Fletcher of Scientific American. We'll get back to them in just a second, but right now, South Carolina is experiencing totality. Tracy Pajak is there in Columbia on the riverbank with a crowd around her. Tracy, what's it like?
Everyone is cheering and screaming. It's actually getting very, very dark. The street lights have come on along here in the park, and it's actually very, very dark now, and everyone is screaming. Because you can actually, when I look to the west, I see a sunset with the clouds in the distance. It looks like the sun has gone down, and it looks like evening. It's actually very cool.
Very, very cool. And yet it is the middle of the afternoon. We can hear the excitement of those around you. They sound simply giddy. I love listening to the voices around you as people experience what they're seeing in the sky. Everybody looking up with their glasses, Tracy? Tracy Pajak is in Columbia, South Carolina.
It looks like nighttime now. It's really cool.
We heard the voices. Everybody seemed to be loving what they were seeing.
It's completely dark right now. It looks like nighttime.
Nighttime in South Carolina. And a moment ago, somebody handed President and Mrs. Trump special glasses so they could experience the partial eclipse on the balcony of the White House, sharing in the moment with millions of Americans. And we're sharing it in South Carolina with Tracy Pajak, who's come from Charlotte, North Carolina, in order to experience it with her friends along the river in Columbia. The excitement in the voices, in your voice, Tracy, and in the voices around you is really, really special.
I wonder, once this passes, is it all of a sudden going to get light again like today?
Yeah.
That's really interesting. Like right now it's dark. It looks like nighttime. It came very suddenly. It was very cool.
And you heard the crickets and the dogs started getting quiet?
The dogs sat down and the crickets are still chirping. And now all the street lights, as far as I can see, have come on as if it's nighttime.
Simply incredible. Tracy, thank you so much for sharing the moment with us and letting us hear the excitement in the voices of those around you. Tracy Pajak there in Columbia, South Carolina. ABC's Jim Hickey is near Charleston, South Carolina, a little different part of the state. But Jim, you've got the sky to watch. You've also got the water to watch.
We have both to watch and to listen to. As I listen to you, Aaron, I'm hearing thunder off to the north, and I'm looking up at the eclipse now. We are very, very close to totality. And I was thinking, Aaron, what it must have been like for our prehistoric ancestors who knew nothing about the science of the moon and the sun and the earth and the stars when it suddenly got so dark, when there was a full eclipse in their day. I can just imagine how frightened they must have been, having no explanation as to what was happening to them, what was happening to their sun, what was happening to their moon. And now we are getting really, really close to that totality. I'm beginning to see that so-called ring of light as the sun shines through the various ridges and mountaintops of the moon, creating a jewel necklace kind of effect. And then shortly we should be able to start seeing the corona and total eclipse here in Charleston, South Carolina. As I look around the crowd of people, about 24 families gathered in this cul-de-sac, just about everyone now is looking up at the eclipse. You can probably hear them exclaiming, "What do you see, ma'am?"
It's the most fascinating thing. There's less than a minute to go, and it's bright orange, and I wish some of the clouds would go away.
Well, they're on their way. Aaron, it's getting very, very dark here now, very rapidly, very quickly. It is like the sun has gone down in a split second. It's turning dark as night, even as I speak, in the last 10 or 15 seconds. And you can hear the people exclaiming about this wonderful event. And we're just looking up now, and there we see the diamond ring. And there is totality. You can hear the people, my neighbors, exclaiming at this wonderful sight. We see the corona around the sun as the moon fully covers the sun now here in Charleston, at least from our perspective. We're actually in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina, just outside Charleston, about 30 minutes away. And Aaron, as that show goes on, to my right, off to the north, there's a lightning show going on as well. and it keeps getting darker and darker. This is a wonderful, spectacular show that we are seeing here in Charleston, South Carolina. We've been worried all day about the clouds. The clouds have been playing with us, toying with us all day. But at the crucial moment, right now, the clouds have cleared and we have a clear view of this once-in-a-lifetime eclipse. Just listen to the people.
It's so cool. What do you think?
So amazing. Oh my gosh, it's mind-altering.
We can see that ring around the sun and the corona, and now very, very slowly the moon is just starting now to slide off the path of the sun. We'll begin to see that diamond-like ring effect shortly, and then the moon will continue, and this wonderful sight will go out to sea. Aaron?
Just like riding a bike, right? ABC's Jim Hickey, our good friend from just outside Charleston, South Carolina, the last state, the last large city, in fact, to see the eclipse take place, the Great American Eclipse of 2017.
This is live coverage from ABC News, the Great American Eclipse. From ABC News headquarters, here is correspondent Aaron Katersky.
The moon is just now beginning to slide away from the sun as seen in Charleston, South Carolina, the last large city to get totality. It just passed that moment, and it was incredible to hear in the voices of so many in South Carolina, their awe, their giddiness. And in New York City, the nation's largest city, this is about as good as it's going to get in terms of a partial eclipse. ABC's Sherry Preston is outside with Seth Fletcher of Scientific American. How is it out there, guys?
As good as it's going to get is pretty good for us here in New York City because it is a cloudy day. But when the clouds pass through, you actually don't need the glasses. You can, okay, you're not supposed to look up, but you can quickly look up and see the sun. It looks like a crescent moon with the crescent on the bottom there. So again, it looks like a smiley face. And all these New Yorkers, as you look around, we're at the corner again of 66th and Columbus, right near Broadway, and looking around, seeing people with their glasses on and their cell phones. What they're doing is they're sticking the glasses up to the cell phone so it preserves like a filter, and then you can take photos of the sun as you can see it. And it was pretty good here. It wasn't totality, but it was quite a spectacle.
ABC's Sherry Preston outside in New York City experiencing a partial eclipse, as she says, still pretty good. But for the folks in Charleston, South Carolina, they were the last large city to get totality, and ABC's Maggie Rulli is there. How was it, Maggie?
Well, I don't want to bust up Sherry Preston, but I have to say totality was insane, Aaron. It was unlike anything I've ever seen. They say it's incredible, but to actually experience day turning into night, it was wild.
And the crowd around you?
Oh, everyone exploded. We have a big crowd here on the waterfront in Charleston County, and as soon as it happened, people were yelling, "Take off the glasses!" and everyone is cheering. Such a great sense of camaraderie and excitement for this moment. You know, it only lasted, about a minute 30, but the entire time, just everyone cheering, looking up at the sky, just taking part of this incredible moment.
And it seems like it's still, just from the images I'm seeing, still pretty dark.
It is, yeah, just a sliver of sunlight is now peeking out. But, you know, I have to say, the difference between what you're seeing now and what we just had about 30 seconds ago, it just slid past totality. And there's that moment when the moon completely covers up the sun, and all of a sudden you are plunged in, I mean, it feels like midnight, total darkness.
ABC's Maggie Rulli is in Charleston, South Carolina, the last large city to experience totality from this solar eclipse, and she's with a crowd down on the waterfront. And Maggie, just describe it. What did it look like? We'll get back to Maggie in a second. She and the crowds in Charleston, South Carolina, in awe and wonder as this eclipse has now cascaded past, although still pretty dark where she is in Charleston. And now the shadow, the 70-mile wide shadow, ends up essentially out to sea. And that's been the thing. It usually hits in unpopulated areas, usually over water because the Earth is mostly water. But for about 2 hours, the entire country got to share in this moment, and in particular those in 14 states that were in the path of totality, South Carolina being the last to witness the great American eclipse of 2017. It's great to have you along for our special coverage. I'm Aaron Katersky, and you're listening to live coverage from ABC News. Let's get back to Charleston, South Carolina with ABC's Maggie Rulli. Maggie, describe the moment you're in.
You know, right now, Aaron, the sun is just starting to peek out again from behind that moon shadow. But you said it perfectly. You know, when we sunk into totality here, there was such a sense of camaraderie for everyone watching. Everyone here on the waterfront in Charleston was cheering. But what was really cool, too, a lot of people I spoke with before the eclipse were saying they felt this connection with everyone on the path of totality. You know, there was friendly sort of back and forth. We had people in Charleston saying, this is the best eclipse location. We're the last and the best city. But, you know, we're going up against places like in Oregon, and we feel this camaraderie with them now, that we all were on this path of totality together, taking part in this experience. And I mean, Aaron, I said it before, I'll say it again. People kept telling me it was an amazing, amazing moment. But to be here and look up when you see that, just the ring in the sky, and you're all of a sudden surrounded by darkness in the middle of the afternoon. I mean, it's totally a wild, wild, amazing experience.
Kind of eerie, kind of awesome. That's what I keep hearing.
I felt like I was in the middle of a horror movie, especially because, you know, here in Charleston, there was actually thunderstorms. I saw lightning strike to my left. I see it striking right now in the distance over the water. And so we have the eclipse on one side, a total eclipse. Then we have a lightning storm to the other side of me. And you feel like you're right in the center of sort of the end of the world, to say the least. But, you know, we made it through. We are still here. The world is not over. So it's okay. We survived.
All right. Thank goodness for that. ABC's Maggie Rulli in Charleston, South Carolina, as the great American eclipse has cascaded across the country. It started in Oregon. ABC's Alex Stone is still out. Any crowd left there, Alex?
And now most people have left now. Some are having lunch at the restaurants around here, but our eclipse actually only ended a few minutes ago, the partial aspect of it, even though the total portion of the eclipse totality was now almost an hour and a half ago or so, that we just saw the last little bit about 15 minutes ago of the moon disappear from the sun here. And as Maggie said, there was something about it that was so cool in the sense of we experienced this here in Oregon. She's experiencing it on the East Coast right now with so little time between the two. There's little that we do except for maybe radio or television that so quickly from coast to coast is going to be something that somebody can be impacted like this. Weather is very different. So many things different. I talked to these women on the beach a few minutes ago. They're still there. They couldn't get enough of it.
Awesome. It was phenomenal. It was phenomenal. It was the coolest thing I've probably ever seen in the sky.
Yeah, and was it what you thought it was going to be, or was it even cooler?
It was even cooler. It was definitely better. Yeah, way better than I thought.
Why so? Describe it to me.
Well, I guess especially when you're looking at it through the glasses, or eye protection, I suppose, it just seems a little less impressive. It's kind of small. Yeah. And then when you could
halo when it was fully eclipsed.
Yeah.
When you take off those glasses and see that halo.
Yeah. It was so big and beautiful. It was amazing.
Yeah. And it got cold out very quickly.
Well, it was cool to see the birds, because the birds all acted really confused right before it got dark, and then all the seals came in too.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't get to see the seals.
There was like a pod of 20 seal heads that popped up right as soon as it got dark, like they were coming in to feed. Yeah, confused.
And the seals were thinking, what is going on?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so you're glad you came.
Definitely.
So glad. So glad. I think it would have been cool to see from anywhere, but I'm really happy that we were able to not have eye protection and look right at the sun for a couple of minutes.
Yeah, don't tell her eye doctor that she said that. They drove 8 hours to come here, that you weren't supposed to take off the glasses. But I didn't see the seals coming in, but everybody says that they did. The seals apparently came in thinking it was time to feed, and it was nighttime, Aaron.
Just amazing. And we heard from another woman, Alex, who said the crickets started their chirp, and dogs started to be still and lie down. Just an incredible couple of minutes as things came into darkness. But all good things must end, and the Great American Eclipse has now concluded. ABC's Brad Milkey experienced it with 20,000 other people in Missouri. Brad.
Aaron, now there are about 19,000 cars on the road, all making their way out of Rosecrans Memorial Airport right now. Everyone here was nervous. Even during totality, as totality began, it looked like it would be this cloudy mess. It had been raining earlier. And then we got pinpricks, moments to witness that total solar eclipse, and that seemed to make it worth it for everyone. I've been talking to a lot of people who had just been sitting around staring at the sun as it continues that eclipse, and they don't seem to want to go anywhere. So you still got a few thousand people just hanging out, really soaking this moment in.
ABC's Brad Milkey with us from St. Joseph, Missouri, and ABC's Sherry Preston outside here in New York. Sherry.
Alongside Seth Fletcher from Scientific American. It was only a partial, it wasn't total, but thumbs up.
Thumbs up. It was very fun.
It was great fun, and we saw what we needed to see. We got the glasses. New Yorkers loved it.
ABC's Sherry Preston with Seth Fletcher of Scientific American outside in New York, and the first solar eclipse to sweep across the United States coast to coast in nearly a century has now come to an end. South Carolina was the last state to experience totality, and Americans from Oregon to South Carolina, everywhere in between, watched in wonder as the moon blocked the sun and turned day into twilight. And totality, when the sun is completely obscured by the moon, lasted really only 2 minutes or so in each location. But how incredible it was in each of those places, the narrow corridor stretching all along the United States from Oregon to South Carolina. And here's the good news. We're not going to have to wait quite as long for the next total solar eclipse. April 2024. Listen for your state: Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Kentucky, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, Pennsylvania, New York, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine will all be in the path. So, book your rooms now. The next time a total solar eclipse will be seen from coast to coast, like the one today, will be the year 2045. All those years from now, may the shadow of the moon once again unite the United States and remind us what it's like to experience something magical together. I'm Aaron Katursky, ABC News.
When breaking news changes the world, ABC News. Accurate, credible, and unmatched. On Twitter @ABC News Radio.
Thank you.